hydro actions. The first one is adjusting the gas caps, which is the 12 docks, and this is basically about spill. And what the first group that we went to, which is the one that had the most of the experts in it, they suggested that we get a webinar for task force members ASAP that just on spill in general, because it's complicated and there's reasons for and there's reasons against, and the salmon you might get more over the dam, but they might be less healthy, and like how to sort all of that out. So that's where they left that one. We did not talk a lot in the other groups because people wanted to talk about removing dams, so I'm going to focus on what we heard on that one, and then we can talk about these other 4 as well. But the removing dams, they said, Steve, you can step in.
Yeah, so
is that another act? Is that a specific action of removing
it's
dams?
the last one. So I just jumped from A to F, and I'm skipping over B, C, D, and E for now.
So several things have emerged on this one. The first thing I'll talk about is we characterize dams in the form of something that impounds water that is otherwise flowing. Not just hydro facilities, but dams for recreation or municipal water, irrigation, whatever the case may be. And so in the light of the spotlight on the lower snake dams, the last group said, why don't we parse out lower snake dams and then all other dams, and then prioritize or categorize all other dams in terms of ease of implementation? Because we do know several dams that are out there across the state that are being removed as we speak, or being talked about, or being funded, if you will. And so there's a range from very implementable to more challenging. And so in the light of the lower snake issue, just call those 4 out right there, and then talk about what needs to occur with those, and then the other list of dams are prioritized based upon benefit to southern resident killer whale and ease of implementation, affordability, and effectiveness.
So Steve, just so I'm clear, so you're saying there are other dams that are on a removal list that could help have, Chinook salmon for southern residents that are not just the Snake River.
Oh yeah, and there's a long list of ones that have already been removed for fish benefit.
And are those dams likely to be removed? Is there agreement?
The Elwha, the Conduit, the one up on the
Elwha,
Nook
we're
Sack.
familiar with, but what are other ones?
Another example that someone had was the Bellingham Diversion Dam is on the PSAR large cap list.
And it's ranked number 1.
It's ranked number 1. There's a dam that's been identified, ready to go, ranked, just needs the funding.
Thank you.
As an example.
So I think that is a helpful way to break them out, and I would love to see that. Is that list already in the package? It's not of all the other?
No, it's not.
No, we don't have the list.
And the other, I'd appreciate having schedule come into this, because we're thinking about what's short term. How do we get the orcas the most accessible, the most salmon accessible to them as quickly as possible? So what's short term, what's mid term, and what's long term? Are there any short term dam projects that would have an impact? If we could add that to the ranking.
That's right.
Is there information on those dams, particularly Snake River and the Upper Columbia, the impact of removal with the northern pike that are up there that feed on the juvenile salmon?
So currently the northern pike are isolated to the Upper Columbia only, not the Snake Creek one portion that we're familiar with. And so there's no talk of reaching Grand Coulee or Chief Joe. There's talk about reintroduction of those 2 facilities, reintroducing adults to reoccupy that spawning area all the way up to Canada and beyond. And the Northwest Power and Conservation Council is planning the assessment, done a habitat survey, they've looked at techniques to do it.
That would
That's
go
well
on
underway.
the other action where you're putting fish above.
Oh, I see, okay. Thank you, I just wanted to add that
No, we
question.
can fit that in.
And on the conversation on the Snake River Dam, I think there's a desire for more clear information about who has the authority, what would the process be to do that, and then also about the cost benefit of weighing all the various cost benefits.
And that's all been done.
So, task force members, do you have anything else to add to the dam conversation?
I'd like to see, is there a consensus in the working group about the science supporting the removals?
By and large, there are a small handful of dams that have habitat not suitable for salmon currently above them, and so the request was to prioritize, and I think the language in the most benefits Chinook, so clearly you wouldn't want to spend money reintroducing Chinook above a dam without suitable habitat.
And were you talking about the Snake River, or are you talking about?
Also the Snake River.
Is that true on the Snake River, that the science is clear?
So, well, there's a conversation needs to occur here because there's a misconception. Currently, adult upstream passage is purely successful in Snake River dams. The problem is there's dams upstream that they can no longer get to their historic range. And so, there's just a lot of nuances to that conversation, but clearly the science demonstrates the benefit to salmon by this scenario that's been talked about. The question is all the trade-offs.
Just scenario meaning removal.
Yeah, or breaching.
I'm actually truly troubled by this. I've seen a NOAA tech memo saying that there's no net loss of food available to the whales based on the production of that system, because the wild fish are offset by the hatchery production. That's pound for pound, the same amount of fish is available. That's a NOAA tech memo, kind of published last year. So I'd like that factored into this discussion. If NOAA, is that true? Because if that's true, then why are we spending so much time on this?
No, you just released a list of like some of the most important rivers for restoration.
Yes.
And the Snake River was like #1.
That was also talking about the rivers all around, getting emphasis off of that system specifically and getting on. Anyway, my question stands about how do you factor NOAA's, I would like a presentation from NOAA, or somehow, how does this fit, their assessment fit into this?
What is NOAA's assessment on Snake River dam removal and
Yes.
the benefits to?
Kilowatts, they have a paper on that specifically.
Okay. Other questions or comments or suggested recommendations? Jeff?
I do know that a lot of documentation has been done around this. I would hope that the task force would use what's already been done and not like commission new studies to study the same thing that information's out there. And I think all the information that we need is there.
Okay. Other?
So I heard a recommendation of a webinar on this Snake River dam as an additional webinar that I've heard, since it's such a high profile item and
Yes.
a lot of uncertainties.
I just, to the last point, so these recommendations are gonna go to the governor and the legislature, and we're not gonna reinvent things. So, there's a lot of data out there on this. There's a massive federal process that's already underway. One of the things that I put forward in my recommendations to everyone, and that I sent out yesterday, was that maybe a ask of the governor to put forward recommendations to the feds that we expedite some of those processes. But I think that we need to be wise with what opportunities this task force actually has.
And is that when you say expedite, is that like the EIS? Yeah, expedite the EIS.
Yeah.
Other?
How are we, so several of us sent in written comments, how are those being taken into consideration?
I think that it's, that those are the fellow task force members to read, educate. So the next step in the process is we're gonna sort of try and clean up this mess and get you a new list of the things that came out of today, and then you'll have an opportunity to,
So,
submit anything.
I've been today going over in each subject area, but like Joe Gatos couldn't be here, and he sent very detailed, really excellent comments. And if what's gonna be boiled up into the next rendition is only what gets a thumbs up or thumbs down, I haven't heard anybody raising any of his comments throughout the conversations today, so I just am realizing this, like, so I'm glad I'm here, and every single chance I get, I'm like, wait, I had written comments to you guys on that, did you read them? Here they are. Joe's not doing that, others have supplied them, so how are we gonna make sure that?
I think we definitely, any task force members who send in responses to this list, they need to be incorporated, and Joe did a good job.
Yeah, I
And
think to the
you
extent
broke
that
them out too. I don't know who else besides you and Joe, those are, and
Oh, okay.
Ken sent something, I think.
We can
More
discuss
specific-
Ken's.
I just think.
Yeah, the more specific comments related to each work group, and I think the work group leads will be
Okay.
able to use those in their next interview.
I also just, it's easier, if it's a brand new recommendation, that's an easier thing to add in. There's a lot, we're getting a lot of different comments on this.
Little nuances,
So
yeah.
we're gonna do our best to wrap that all up together and give you a new option to look at, and that will look at Joe's and all the things we've heard today and all the things that have been in writing, but it may not look exactly like that, which doesn't mean that they weren't. Okay, so, in the interest of time, can we talk about some of these other hydro ones? One of them, Steve, you need to explain this, revising the standards for juvenile survival at dams.
So there are currently, as you all know, probably survival standards for each licensed and each FCRPS hydro facility that are out there that are either for beta tail race or concrete to